Good morning, everyone. I am Gianna Pinzon, and for my sociology project, I will be discussing institutionalized racism here in America. George Floyd. George Floyd was a 46-year-old Black American man when he was murdered by a white police officer in Minneapolis, Minnesota, by kneeling on his neck, cutting his air supply, eventually killing him to asphyxiation. This is an act of police brutality, and this murder of an innocent man occurred in May 2020, which sparked global protest against institutionalized racism, addressing the long-standing racial disparities in law enforcement practices where Black Americans are subjected to police violence. This, what happened to George Floyd, is an example of institutionalized racism, more commonly known as systemic racism. This is a form of discrimination based on race and ethnicity, deeply embedded in the fabric of organizations like the criminal justice system, laws, policies, both written and unwritten, education, housing and employment, healthcare, beliefs, and attitudes that prevail so widespread unfair treatment of people of color. This systemic nature perpetuates disparities and hinders progress towards racial equity. The murder of George Floyd in May 2020 became a turning point in the fight against systemic racism and police brutality. The scene was captured on multiple videos that went viral on the internet, and the 9-minute killing sparked outrage, leading to some of the largest protests in US history, where millions of people gathered and united the Black Lives Matter, or BLM, movement. This organization originated in 2013, which became more known to emphasize the justice for Floyd and many others to address racial inequities in the United States. George Floyd's death ignited protests in over 60 countries, spotlighting racism as a pervasive issue. The police officer who murdered Floyd was sentenced to 23 years in prison, and some cities introduced reforms like banning chokeholds and mandating body cameras. On the more obvious testament of systemic racism is the criminal justice system. African Americans are incarcerated at an unjust rate compared to white Americans. To simply put, Black individuals are more scrutinized compared to white individuals, often getting stopped, searched, and arrested by police, even in the absence of concrete evidence. Furthermore, they often receive harsher sentences for similar offenses, highlighting a ridiculous bias within the judicial process. Here's another example in the inequality of education between two supposedly equal groups. Predominantly Black and Hispanic schools often receive less funding than schools in predominantly white neighborhoods, leading to disparities in resources, facilities, and educational opportunities. In consequence, this funding gap leads to overcrowded classrooms, outdated materials, limited advanced courses, and underpaid teachers, prolonging their cycle of disadvantage. Moreover, disciplinary policies target students of color wherein they could face suspensions or expulsions for behaviors that might be overlooked in white students, setting the school to prison pipeline, introducing them to the unjust judicial system in America. Institutionalized racism thrives as it has infiltrated almost, if not all, areas of the policies and practices that perpetuate racial disparities in America, that addressing and creating new reforms would not suffice to solve its deeply rooted nature. Although recognizing its existence and advocating everyone's rights and freedom, especially of people of color, is one way to promote equality and justice. By understanding and confronting these harsh institutional structures, society can move closer to achieving true racial equality. Thank you for listening.